Ooh, doesn't it always give you chills when you see that intro? Ryan this time, no longer Zoop by my side. We've had a bit of a switch up. I think he's busy having a bit of a 1v1 versus Sib at the moment.
I morphed. I used to be Zoop, and then I'd say I shrunk, but he's only like this much taller than me. Welcome everybody to Quake Pro League, where we're continuing our weekly broadcasts. Whole bunch of the points have been determined at this stage. We have some more really good matches coming up, especially on the EU CIS side. I think we really have some cracker games to go. And yeah, I mean, let's just get to it.
Oh yeah, there's going to be some slobber knockers tonight. I think that's a fairly easy prediction to come through with. Right? Me and you, we've both had a look at what's in store for Week 5 of EU versus CIS/CIS. I think there is going to be some gems in the rough, Ryan.
I think so. Week number 1, we did see... I mean, we actually have some rematches already. The big one being the sort of kickoff match, GaRpY versus Spart1e. They did play in week number 1. It wasn't one-sided up until the final map, where we had our very first, body bag, you could say, where it was like 31 frags to like 1.
Yeah.
For a fair few of that map, Spart1e was in like negative because of a suicide or an accidental situation. Normally it was GaRpY accidentally killing himself. If anyone hasn't seen the DreamHack qualifier back in, I think, 2017, GaRpY versus Spart1e, where he shot the ground at the worst. It was a sudden death. It was one champion each. It was super hype. GaRpY flicks down and he shoots the floor.
That's a hurty-verty and a half.
Me and my brother were screaming about it. It was one of my favourite moments, and it still actually might be my favourite competitive Quakes Champions moment for probably the worst of reasons. But I mean, yeah, we have a schedule. We have all the action to expect throughout the course of the night. We have leaderboards as well. I mean, it's been a pretty extensive period so far. We have got a whole bunch of weeks left to go. But results-wise, it's been a mix of expected and unexpected, you could say.
It has been. Why don't we have a look at those global leaderboards as well and see how things have been developing over the course of the week so far? Because there's been some odd results thrown into the mix. There's been some predictable things, but a lot of it has been juicy. That has been the core point, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are some players to really pay attention to besides the obvious. We know Rafa's doing well. He's been absolutely destroying the Americas. He's not playing this week, though. He has a bye along with Nosfer, so those two guys will be taking a back seat throughout the course of the night. And this week, we're going to see players like GaRpY not playing. He's been incredibly dominant every single week, and Tox having a bye week. Also, very fortunately, Tox was able to finally secure himself a 3-0, so he's not dangerously low in the world rankings. But I mean, yeah, I think getting a good result before his bye week was, I mean, mandatory, if anything.
It's also great as well, because the fact is, you look at this right now, and if you haven't actually been watching the weeklies too much, you might think, Nosfer, like, rank 11 overall, what's going on there? But it's the fact, the matches he's had versus Rafa, the rematch as well, both of them were just glorious games. They were packed full of incredible frags. The difference was, though, Ryan, last week on the face-off, there was an entirely different style of play coming out from Nosfer. It looks like he's starting to adapt, he's trying to rework himself as a player, and that's curious. I'm actually quite interested to see how he develops now with the rest of the weeks.
Yeah, he's always one of the players to watch in the Americas, and he's been proving that with consistently good results. He has had to fight Rafa a couple of times now, and I mean, Rafa is one of the absolute best players in the world. But I mean, Kilson, Cooler, top dogs, their results surprise nobody, and players like GaRpY, he's been a rising star for a long time, and his results in the weekly broadcasts have been absolutely proving that he's here to play, and he's absolutely, I think, my player to watch over this side of the globe. We have some more rankings to go by. We can see what's going on. We have a little bit more of the action. As you can see throughout the course of the weeks, GaRpY is sitting very comfortably on top. The champ, Kilson, from QuakeCon, sitting at number 2, and just behind him, I was going to say ever so slightly, but I was going to give it to you guys a little bit later. Cooler, number 3. And, base has been consistent as well. And we go down and we go down and we go down, which is why the scheduled matches are the way they are. The points matter.
Yeah, it's an interesting format, obviously, with the idea of, depending on where you are in terms of the closeness in the group there overall, you're gonna face off versus the same opponent. So it does give some sort of, more depth to the matches. We're seeing a little bit more of a benchmark overall in how exactly people are facing off versus just the one-off games in sort of a round-robin format. It's a different take, but it's provided with some weird games already, so hopefully it carries on in that form.
Yeah, we've reached the point in the Pro League where we're now starting to see rematches. And the rematches, I think that they're storylines, if anything. We can see how players have adapted from previous weeks. We can see if the results are, in some cases, the same, Rafa versus Nosfer, for example, or our first match of the night. Actually, perfect timing. We have the schedule to show you guys for EU and CIS action. We have got GaRpY, the British Bulldog, going up against Spart1e, and this is once more a rematch. GaRpY was the player coming out on top, and I'm just going to get an early prediction out of the way. I actually think GaRpY will win this again. I think he's just in better shape. I think he's had some recent LAN performances for other games that he's done well into, and I think he's feeling a lot of momentum, right? The confidence is there. Razy versus Avec, Hron versus Base, and finally, the main match, Kilson versus Cooler. I think they're probably sick of playing each other at this stage. But as I mentioned earlier, Tox and Wenger have got the bye this week. Wenger is sitting on top, incredibly strong. And Tox, even though he's had a rocky road so far, he did secure a 3-0 the week before, which has given him, at least, if anything, breathing space.
Yeah, it's a good return to form as well, because obviously we know how well Tox can play, how high of a caliber player he actually is overall. So definitely have to see some more momentum coming through from him. But as you said, game 4, you know, if there's only one you can choose to watch tonight, you're going to want to strap yourself in, have your popcorn ready, and come back in for that 4th and final game of the EU/CIS, because that is going to be so good.
I mean, I've mentioned just now we're starting to kind of see the weekly period where results are starting to be determined, players are getting points, and as we mentioned at the start, the points matter for determining who faces each other for the next week. They try and keep the matches kind of as balanced as they can be throughout the course of the weekly periods, which is why we're now starting to see players, in my eyes, kind of rightfully where they seem to be placed throughout the weeks. Number 1 is consistently facing number 2 and vice versa, and then the players that are kind of struggling a little bit are fighting for those positions down below to try and, I guess, avoid the relegation period, because we know we have players like Sirius, we have players like Cypher. They're kind of creeping into the woodwork and looking really, really good in the Challenger Leagues, and our players in Pro League that may not be in the best form, they have to watch out, because that's what relegation is all about. Rising stars. It's kind of weird calling Cypher a rising star at this stage, because he's not. But by Pro League accounts, he is, you know, where he's really trying to climb back up, this success story, redemption for the guy who was known to be one of the world's greatest Quake players of all time. And he's trying to fight for a spot. And I think it's vice versa for the Americas as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of players with a meteoric rise straight back into fame right now, which is expected to see from some of them. Obviously, names we've seen in the scene for absolute years that just know how to be so dastardly dominant in the way they play the game. So it's beautiful to see, but there is so much more to be done as well with Challenger League. We're still not quite sure who is going to make it out on top, but that's the interesting fact, right? Who is going to get relegated at the end of this? We're now coming sort of, you know, a little bit into the season. We've had enough time to sort of dissect some of the players, see how their form's looking, because before this, it was sort of a question mark of who's actually been able to put that time in still, who has that high skill cap that they had previously. Quake Pro League at this point, this is where we're really starting to see some of the way more competitive games, because we know what people are playing to, what skill level they're actually at, versus obviously our theory crafting, right?
Yeah, it's almost kind of bizarre talking about it in this stage, because the Pro League will always, and always will be, the best of the best with honours. You know, it's all about players that are playing the game at the highest level. So when we're talking about players dethroning and relegating, it's not that they're not good enough to play at the highest level. It's just, hey, you got a little bit of work to do to ascend to the absolute top of the pyramid. It's about time we get into our first match of the day, though. GaRpY, the British Bulldog. I'm never going to get tired of saying that. GaRpY is, without anything else, just experienced. And I say this every single week because he has such a legacy in arena FPS that he rarely gives us bad games. He always manages to take it. Doesn't matter who he's against. He gives it 150% every time, and he does have the capability to upset players, to get results that you're not fully expecting, because he just goes by that guttural playing with his heart on his sleeve.
Oh yeah, it's that true English style, right, Ryan? We see him sometimes walking into the server. He's basically windmilling his way out. You can see he's ramped up, he's ready. It's just absolutely ridiculous to watch, right? He's like a rugby fan. He just comes head first at you.
I'm so glad we got that shot. That's like, I think that is actually my favourite shot of all Pro League so far. It was the map, the dominant Molten Falls, where by the end of it, GaRpY, I mean, I was just aim trainer. You know, he's just having a little bit of a practice. I think he's kind of tuned out, and he just goes, I'm going to do this sick 180 real quick. Gets it, sick man. But his opponent is an opponent he's seen once before, Spart1e, who has had a rocky road in the Pro League. He has not had a lot of success in this so far. Not to take away from his skill, but fundamentally, when you're going up against the greatest players in the world, Spart1e hasn't had an amazing form. But that's why he's going up against GaRpY, right? GaRpY hasn't had an amazing Pro League so far either. It's all about putting these guys against each other to see when can you start to ascend. You know, will Spart1e secure a 3-0 this week that gives him a nice injection of points, which will then allow him to carry that momentum into future weeks? Is this where he starts to climb the ranks? The storylines are forever ongoing in the Pro League. But that said, I'm going to go out and say it. I do think GaRpY has the edge here. I think Spart1e has been in worse shape than GaRpY. And the fact these guys have played head-to-head before GaRpY is my one to pick. I probably think 3-0.
I'm going to go for the 3-0 straight up. I mean, off the base of the results that we've had previously, right, it kind of leans that way instantly. Most of the time, I've been repping the Swedes, my superstar Swedish boys. I love them. I love a bit of the Colonel Buller. Like, that's what I'm here for, Ryan, right? I try and, represent both sides. But I've got to agree with you there. I feel like GaRpY has been looking pretty dominant when it comes to sort of individual style of play. Obviously, you do have the results as well, just to look at like that. It's a bit of a rough one when you flip a coin on it, but I feel like GaRpY most likely will walk away. If not a 3-0, probably, quite a dominant 2-1.
I think it's just a matter of how players are looking, and I think not even when you factor in just Quake, when you factor in just competitive experience so far. We know GaRpY has just returned from a large event, and the results he was able to obtain there, he's feeling good about. The Maestro boys were proud of him, and he is a multi-game player. He has such a lifetime of experience playing multiple arena FPS that you carry with it so many fundamentals that make you do pretty well, depending on whichever game you're on. Quake, as of recently, there's no getting around the fact that GaRpY has not been amazingly successful in Quake Champions now, but he used to be.
Yeah.
In the earlier days of Quake Champions, back in 2017, in Duel, he would just rock up and have like the greatest rockets we've ever seen. It was particularly on the maps where it just seemed to always be on Blood Run, where he'd face all kinds of old school players and just hit everything he needs to hit, but it was always amazing predictions, amazing reactions when necessary, and it's the decision making, right? He may not be successful now, but I think competitively he's a bit more, well oiled, and that I think gives him an edge on a lower end match of Quake Pro League.
Potentially. It's one of those as well where it's just based on sort of game sense and overall what you develop, right? Because even though it might not be Quake that he's playing at those other times, you're still developing those skills further. Your game sense is getting better. You're getting yourself into a position where you know how to approach certain scenarios in different ways. It's much easier for him to be able to approach certain roles in that way now. And overall, I just feel like some of the times you see it, he wants it. He's hungry for it in a lot of those matches he goes into. The teeth are coming out. He's snarling. He doesn't go in without his claws out, Ryan.
But then you look at a player like Spart1e, and we've been talking in droves about GaRpY, but we have to talk about Spart1e as well, where we talk about early success in the game's lifespan. Spart1e was another one. Whether it was a team mode, whether it was duel, you would always kind of expect him to rock up and be one of the star performers on whatever team he plays in. He was always kind of consisting of the teams that weren't amazingly successful in things like Sacrifice and those kind of modes, particularly the larger scale team modes. Spart1e would kind of just be like an extra addition to a team that maybe they just kind of needed an extra player. Hey, Spart1e, hands up, let's play. And he would always do well. He wasn't on like absolute champion status teams, but he was always a really strong performer on those teams. But again, it was more about earlier days, right? The time is now. We're starting to see a shift of power, where we are starting to see players like Wenger on top. Kilson, contrary to those early days, Kilson wasn't amazingly successful in offline settings back then. He is now. It's all about how players continue the grind, how they kind of refine their game. Sometimes it's an attitude adjustment. Like Kilson's attitude is almost entirely positive now, and I really think that makes a big difference. If you go on his Twitch, if you go on his stream, he's very both passionate about the game, but he doesn't take things extremely harshly. He doesn't constantly beat himself up the way he used to. And I think maybe a shift of attitude helps him out. He's now the champ for a reason. There's no understanding the fact that he literally won QuakeCon. But it is a difference in timeline. We're starting to see the shifts of players like Cooler that have always been around. Time Limit Duel would have made a big difference to that. And how today's going to go. A bit unexpected. We're actually currently waiting on GaRpY, just for a bit of transparent information. Thanks for sticking around so far. Trust me, we want to get into the match too. We'll just have to find out what's going on with GaRpY as we speak. All right. As I said that, he's just joined, so they're setting up the game. So give it a couple of minutes and we're ready to rock. Did we actually give your predictions, Jackie? How do you think it's going to go? Did you agree?
Yeah, I basically did. I said it's either going to be the 3-0 or a fairly convincing 2-1. There's a chance for Spart1e. I don't feel like he's down in the dumps. He's one of these players that definitely can get in if he finds his form. But it just seems to be the early game. It's always looked like if he doesn't really sort of hit the mark straight away, right, he stumbles a bit. He can't get it going for himself, which is... It's a weird one where it's sort of is it confidence or what is it that holds you back there? But we have noticed that sometimes where if he doesn't really come in hard and fast, it's going to be a struggle for him as the game carries on.
Spart1e's been known to not give it 100% on maps, and I think that's kind of why we saw some of the results between himself and GaRpY previously, is that if something, the map itself in week number 1, where GaRpY got over 30 kills in one map over Spart1e, it actually came from some really unfortunate situations where Spart1e would either accidentally suicide, or it was a fight that just kind of almost should have gone his way and he just completely dropped the ball and could never quite recover from a blunder. Like there are certain frags that don't go your way that will tilt the best of us. Like it's definitely not to pull away from Spart1e that, hey, a fight that didn't go the way you planned and it could have done, just forget about it. You can't forget about it. It's how you just recover from those situations, and Spart1e's kind of been known to be on the receiving end of that, where he can't, it's almost like the entire map he's thinking about how the map started, and he just can't stop thinking about it, and he's not thinking about the game, and he's running around a corner super predictably, ambushes are there, or he's gets beat to some kind of item or something, and it just doesn't quite work out. I think that's kind of why Spart1e's where he is, but we'll see whether he gets it on GaRpY. This is an important time to try and get a win. If you've had an unfortunate season 1 so far, try and get a 3-0 now if you can. Easier said than done, but if this is the start of his climb, then hopefully it is.
It's like going on a roller coaster, Ryan. If you get 2 in your own head and you sat there thinking about it and you're going, oh no, this roller coaster's going to collapse, I'm going to come straight off, bolts are going to fall out, you never know what's going to happen, right? You're going to psych yourself out too much. When you just accept it and realise it's in fate's hands now, it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Is that just life advice from Jackie?
Pretty much. Just take it as a roller coaster, cross that bridge when you come to it.
It's a difficult sentence because there are so many different roller coasters. You've got those roller coasters that are just like slow climb, slow climb, slow climb, and there's like boom, straight down the bottom.
You got your launch coasters.
That would be my roller coaster. It starts pretty good, boom, down the bottom, and then from the bottom it can only go up.
Yeah, well, technically, unless it's like Oblivion, it's just over. You hit the bottom and then that's the end of the track.
And it explodes.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's more
it's like those old simulators.
Yeah.
It goes too fast and it literally just shoots up, and then who knows.
You just wouldn't build the end of the track.
Yeah. That ride was amazing.
It goes
really
straight
fun.
into the Shamu enclosure. Other brands of whale are available.
What roller coaster would your life be?
Probably a launch coaster with a triple helix, mate. But at some point in that triple helix, you just pass out and it's over.
I asked you that question. I don't actually know. I'm not really a roller coaster enthusiast, so I don't.
Well, the difference between most roller coasters.
What does it look like? Has it got loops in it?
Yeah, well, that's the helixes, like a circly boy.
Is that
basically
the official name for a loop-de-loop?
Probably. I assume so.
I'm gonna look it up during the break. We're still waiting on the match to become up and running, so actually I'm pretty sure we should be ready very, very soon. Cheers for sticking around so far. For those that are just joining us, though, this is another one of our weeks for the Quake Pro League.
The Roller Coaster Pro League.
Oh, no. Unofficial. Unofficial. That's a tagline.
That's
right
our
there.
podcast.
But yeah, so it's GaRpY versus Spart1e game number 1. I think when you have these early matches, I think GaRpY, for me, is... I'm really trying to think about I think we've hit the end.
Is this the end of your fill?
I blame GaRpY.
Is he your boy?
I blame
Is that
GaRpY
what you're
for this.
going for?
There are only so many ways I can say I think GaRpY is probably going to win this. Because ultimately, look, I think he's been doing better recently. I think he's been having a lot more offline success. I've said these things already, haven't I? But I mean, we have to think about what this could actually mean for players too. We've talked about the opportunity for relegations. Okay, yeah, so we've just been informed the further situation actually we're determining pings now. So once we're happy with the ping, we will get into more maps. Actually, no, before I lose my train of thought, what these maps could mean, I think if Spart1e loses now, he's in really big trouble. Because he's had a very sort of up and down road so far. At least GaRpY has got like a couple of bits of success. I believe he had a bye week last week anyway, obviously because he was unavailable and busy. So his bye week fell on last week, so the points he didn't obtain there, we have to just forget about it because he wasn't there to play. Spart1e, if he loses now, he's pretty much almost like done nothing but lose since the Quake Pro League began. GaRpY actually has a little bit more to gain off the momentum of what could be a successful week this week. So... we'll have to see what happens.
It's one of those where basically you do, at this point now, want to try and pull away from the bottom of the pack, right? If you're stuck there, it's not looking good, you start second-guessing yourself. It's also more of a confidence thing, where if you're looking at it and just going, oof, this is looking rough, right? Everyone's looking fierce right now in Challenger, they're on the up and up, whereas right now I'm looking a bit stagnant. How do I fix that? How do I change things up? You got to take your time in the off-season. When you're away, learn a bit of a Texas two-step, come back stronger.
It's also strategies too. If you're in this position where you know that you're realistically not going to have the top of the leaderboard position, position. It's not about trying to be the best at this stage. It's trying to kind of fight for maybe the mid-level, just trying to avoid the bottom two, like avoid relegation periods. I think that's a lot more apparent in the Americas, where you have players that are kind of like proving they're kind of unable to take it to like a Dahang or a Rafa or even a Nosfer at this stage, because just I almost think that right now that's why I would call my top 3 of the Americas. And your goal is not necessarily to try and be the best, it's to avoid the bottom. You know, if you can stay around the middle, then that's actually not the end of the world, because you're still in Pro League, you're not in a massive threat of being taken out of it, at least for this season. You can use that off-season to kind of reflect, try and get some better results, then hey, whatever happens in the next season will happen. But if you are in Spart1e's position, you're 100% fighting for your life, and if he's done nothing but lose so far, it's kind of like, oh, great, well, what does he do now? You know, can he try and have maybe a better seed for the relegation matches? That kind of might be the end point where that's kind of all you're having to fight for, right? So, yeah, if you're in this position, I think Spart1e is going to be a little bit more nervous than GaRpY.
Probably. Like, overall, you would assume so, but it looks like we are finally ready to kick it off. We've said their names many, many a times. We're going to say them even more now with more excitement in our voices, Ryan, as it's time to kick it off. Spart1e, the Swedish superstar, versus GaRpY, the British Bulldog.
Well, thank you very much for sticking around with us. It was going to happen at one point. It was always inevitable with online broadcasts, and here we are. GaRpY's getting some opening damage. Running low on LG, though, so he's kind of forced into a difficult position. Goes in for the Dire Orb, and fortunately, Spart1e was able to collect that frag. And that actually, he went straight in. That's actually the kind of fight where if it went completely, you know, pear-shaped, you would have been worried about him, because he put all of his eggs in one basket, you know, with that Dire Orb, and he almost didn't actually get the frag at all. If he tried to go for a bold play and died immediately, that's where I think the tilt can sometimes come into play. Fortunately, though, didn't happen, as now another fight's breaking out near LG. Pretty even split on the pickups as well. We'll see what the fight's going to be.
I would also make him a bad farmer, Ryan.
Because he can't manage it.
Yeah.
One of the crops is going off halfway through.
It's all gone wrong. The potato famine's kicking in. But
can't give it all the love and attention that it so desires.
well, there's also the famine for the rockets right now. He's been starved out on those. It's the LG's been fueled up. It's going to kill the turret as well, so there's no hashtag free brick action here in EU.
GaRpY been able to kind of zip in there, get the LG. That was his objective, but the swap doesn't quite work out. I actually love the way GaRpY took that. You know, he had the information, he knew his turret went down, so he kind of has a rough idea of where Spart1e is. It's kind of fair to assume he's in Mega Room anyway. But now he's got himself an LG, he doesn't have to be so sort of like dominant to try and sort of strong arm his way into Mega. You know, because in many ways, the objective is kind of get in and out with the LG and live to tell the tale. And now he's got the rest of the map to kind of mess around with. He's got a lovely stack, he has the presence with the turret now there as well. And now it's all about just getting some ammo, and in turn, forcing Spart1e away, because he spent so much time in Mega, he's having to run away and get a little bit of armor. Puts him in a pretty predictable position. And now GaRpY's looking for a bit of information. Yeah, he heard him, but I think I failed to kind of gauge which room he was going to run through. Instead, he's going down by Nail. Dire Orb play once more doesn't work out. It worked out for Spart1e in the first frag, but this time, I think just a complete misjudging of GaRpY's stack. Even if he got a little bit of Dire Orb damage, it wouldn't have really scared GaRpY too much, and I still think he'd have got the frag there.
I'd have to agree with you on that one. It looks like basically, at this point, he's in a fairly commanding position as well. If he can carry on with this, he can try and slow down the pace of the game. Doesn't have to get too overly aggressive. Just going for the pop shot rockets right now. The bottle rockets, if you will, as he fires them out. The turret is going to go down, just blocking a small tad bit of damage. But here's the aggression from Spart1e. He's looking like he's starting to try and get his head in the game. Goes in with the rockets. A nice hit as he has to back out. He has got GaRpY tremendously low, though. And he fancies his chances with the LG. Moving in to grab some stack as he gets the armor back up. That's the Dire Orb across. Would it be a nice prediction as they're close by? The rocket's going to tag him as well, Ryan. He gets him close, but it's not the frag just yet.
I think he could still have it, though. There's not a long... There's quite actually a bit of a gap until we see Mega. GaRpY, I think, maybe misjudging Spart1e's position there. Taking a lot of damage and being semi-stuck in no man's land, especially those really good defensive rockets as Spart1e's trying to establish distance, putting GaRpY incredibly low. And yeah, when he has a stack this low, it's kind of a risk to actually sit around. You know, Spart1e's trying to play it safe, which I do understand. He's going to try and stack up before he takes this fight. But GaRpY... I mean, that's a suicide, but either way, that was a frag. Like, that was either going to be a +1 for Spart1e or a -1 for GaRpY in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of alright. Like, at this point, you've just negated the frag rather than giving it away, so you're still 1-1. Ooh, it could have been a 2-1 there, though, as the rocket goes straight across, slaps him in the face, nearly removes his lips forcibly, and puts him down fairly low. Luckily, he's got a bit of time to play with, can back off, start to try and add towards that stack and get his HP back. But Spart1e, he's got a lot more map control to play with here. He's also tagging him up as well. Goes up for a couple of shots on the nail gun, just in case he can land a cheeky tag on the way out.
Now, I think in this position, Spart1e, I think that the saving graces he's had is just these rockets have been sublime. He's hit quite a few of these long-distance rockets that's just catching GaRpY almost direct, by the way. We're going to have a crazy fight here, and Spart1e faster on the trigger finger. GaRpY's in a difficult position, hitting some more defensive rockets of his own, and he can't escape! We say that GaRpY at once upon a time had the best rockets in the business. That is exactly why. We were so ready for Spart1e to take that, and GaRpY just hit the magic shot. However, Spart1e spawning near LG. Not a bad spawn at all. Now he's well equipped to take this fight. And the fight he will. He's going to press the advantage, force GaRpY away from the Mega. And GaRpY, another good defensive rocket. But he needs a little bit more than that. He's going to try and head him off. Can't hit any of those machine gun shots, unfortunately. Minimal damage on the LG. GaRpY sticking around. Hits another excellent rocket. This fight is anyone's fight to go at this stage. But they're still sticking around! Oh my word! He's chasing it down! GaRpY takes the bluff. Is he going to get hit? He will indeed! Spart1e with the absolutely magnificent orb. In many ways, that was a 50-50. Will he teleport? But a spawn! Ooh. What a spawn! GaRpY just piling in. And now, there's a really nice delay on Heavy. If GaRpY gets this fight, which he can't, thanks to Spart1e's rockets, he's in a good position now to try and take this Heavy. What a back and forth this has been, Jackie.
Yeah, it's crazy as well. The slower playstyle, the much more elongated fights. The fact is, we've only had 6 frags currently on the board right now, within the total of 5 minutes, but it's been a lot more intense than the actual firefights they have had. Definitely dragged out longest they can try and play around, as we're attempt to see another kill coming through here for Spart1e, getting a bit aggressive with the LG, tries to get the tag up and make this one shocking. The direct rocket is a tasty way to start it. He does go in, but GaRpY, again, gets the better of him. He's going to be able to hit him with a backbreaker and leave him lifeless on the ground. Again on the re-entry, hoping to try and do another Elton John here as he's firing out those warning shots. Turret going to be put down for the map control as well, blocking off one of the choke points. And this gives him a lot of time to play with, to just try and take it as his own pace, roam around, add towards the stack, and then go back in for another fight, dropping fairly low. Barely stays alive at that point and actually lands the rocket as well on the way out.
But it's once more. First of all, the placing of GaRpY's turret, so he's going to get information on where the spawn was. He hasn't got to worry as much taking the Mega. Doesn't have complete information just yet. And now he gets the turnaround. Spart1e's in a very bad position. Hasn't spawned particularly close to any rockets either. So that's why, you know, depending on the spawn Spart1e gets might dictate how well he does whenever he gets encountered by GaRpY. Because one of the things that's really been keeping him in this fight is the rocket. And I wouldn't actually be surprised if GaRpY's objective here is going to be to keep Spart1e away from it. Because that's been, you know, paying its dues. Speaking of which, though, that nail has other plans. I was going to say maybe GaRpY would try and keep him away from the rocket a little bit, but it wasn't his decision to make. Spart1e just flying in and GaRpY completely underestimating the damage the nail gun could do there.
Coming up close towards the 7-minute mark here, though. It's a 2-kill lead right now for GaRpY. He's in a fairly commanding position. It's not too bad across the board with the weapons he's actually got to play with, so overall he's going to be fairly confident. Bit of a close miss there on the rocket from Spart1e as he binds his way across. And here we go, back into the aggression. Goes in with the lightning gun, starts getting the spam down. GaRpY still adding to that stack, so he's not going to be too worried about the fight they've been locked into. On the other hand, Spart1e could be a little bit shaken at this point. He is still railing down onto him with those rockets. GaRpY's tremendously low. The dire orb on the entry, and he blows him to bits.
Absolutely perfect. And he's going to get another decent amount of damage. Pretty weak, though. Looks to me like GaRpY might be pressing somewhat of an advantage. He's trying to strong arm his way towards the Mega. Hit some entry damage on Spart1e. Spart1e, wisely, we could say, using the passive there of Ranger, less self-damage. So he gets a rocket jumper, a HP count that would otherwise be very, very dangerous. The problem is, it did put him quite weak, and there's not been a lot of pickups that he can use to get himself back. I think he's put himself into a corner here. He's trying to get as much damage as he can, but there's still nothing to pick up. He's trying to fight him away from the Heavy, and it's just not working. Spart1e overstaying his welcome, and the second he went down that jump pad, I think he was already, you know, that was a death sentence right there. Not much he could do.
Yeah, it was a rough fight as well. Just hoping to try and spook him off if possible, do some damage with the tri-bolt, anything he could to not make it such a ridiculous advantage for GaRpY, but it doesn't go his way. It leaves him quite a sour taste in his mouth as well. Once again, it's a 2-frag lead for GaRpY. Time running out as well. Not too long left on the clock at this point, as we're going to hit about 1:30 soon. And Spart1e, if he's going to come back into the game, he needs to do so fairly quickly. GaRpY, you can just toy with him at this point. He's doing so much damage as well. Looks like it should be another frag for free. He did get low, close to the mark, surviving with just a tad bit of HP, but he still gets it.
Pretty sure the only reason Spart1e didn't suicide there as well is because he's playing Ranger. I think that's one of the benefits that Ranger will always have. The fact it does less self-damage, things like rocket launchers, it kind of makes your decision-making a little bit easier. You haven't got to calculate as much of your rocket jumps and stuff like that, but yeah, we're in a dangerous position now where the back and forth has been nice and close for the most part, but that one error in judgment, Spart1e's pretty far behind here, and he hasn't got a lot of time to play with it. He has to get 3 frags in 1 minute. So what was essentially, you know, an entire map's worth of 1 frag in it, we're not there anymore, and I mean, GaRpY at this point can just waste time. He's going to get the suicide, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's just about trying to close that gap, right? Doesn't matter if that was a frag or not. It's now going to be 2 frags to go for Spart1e to even things up. Can he do it? Oh, okay. Oh, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Just like that, Spart1e is on the verge. He needs 1 more frag. GaRpY can play defensively if he wants, but he can only be so defensive on Corrupted Keep. He's going in for more rockets, but he misses the second one, and he's quite weak as well. GaRpY has actually run into the nail room, so he's taken up all of the valuable pickups, only leaving him 1 health bubble and a rocket for dinner. Oh no. Oh no, he needed that. He needed that so bad.
That's the difference between them actually pushing it out to the sudden death and GaRpY just walking away with a victory. It doesn't matter, the Spart1e gets 1 at the end there to at least try and bring it back into a closer form as he gets the consolation frag, but it won't change the outcome. GaRpY does lock it down 8-7. Much closer than it actually looked there towards the final few seconds of that. It could have been so good for Spart1e, but GaRpY takes it through. So he starts it well with your prediction there, Ryan.
I mean, it wasn't one-sided, that's the thing. It was a map that definitely could have gone either way. It was just a little bit of a disastrous end, where I think Spart1e just kind of made some...
It's not exactly like it's a bad run of form there as well, so you can come into it with your head held pretty high, right? Like, there was the 1% chance that towards the end of that, it could have been flipped up, you could have gone to sudden death. Anyone's game at that point. Like, it's completely out the window, the entire results up to that affair. I feel like genuinely he should be able to just go in, like, dirt off his shoulders, don't worry about it, walk into the second map, be able to take it with his strides. You can still take the series. That's the bigger point, right? At this point, it's only 1 map gone. When you go 2 down, it's basically over, and the third map is literally just the denial of points to stop GaRpY just extending such a ridiculous lead overall. I think there is a chance for him. You know, 2-1 between both of them. It's a split at this point because it's looking like a pretty fair game. They're both looking on form.
Yeah, we've reached a point now where normally we kind of talk about the third map as being kind of like a bonus round. It's definitely not a bonus round for Spart1e. He needs to win this map, otherwise he's in really big trouble. And if he's able to win this map, becomes a 1-1. If he can turn it into a 2-1, finally get something that resembles a victory, that victory is also going to mean more points. Because here's the thing, like getting 3-0'd, you're not getting any points. So if you're getting 3-0'd by people and then you have a bye week or something like that, or whatever it may be, you know, whether you play or not, if you're in a player position where you get 3-0 and then have a bye week, it's like, well, I'm not getting points anyway. Yeah. You know, so it's kind of tricky. I'll have to double check whether Spart1e's had a bye week though, because off the top of my head I actually can't remember. So I'll check that before the next one. But either way, this map is automatically just very, very different, right, to Corrupted Keep. It's unlike something that we've seen. There's a difference in size, the inclusion of the rail. I mean, every time you kind of talk a map that's not Corrupted Keep, you have to mention the fact that, hey, there's a rail finally, so we can actually start to see it. But as of recently, again, it kind of comes down to mentality. Rail is a weapon that you kind of need to be on the ball to hit consistently, and if anything's on your mind about how a map went beforehand, then your rail accuracy is almost guaranteed to drop by like a significant percentage.
Yeah, it's some of the beautiful frags we actually see completely game-changing though off the back of the rail frags that we've actually had throughout the entire Quake Pro League at this point. Hopefully we get some mad moments of that, but it looks like we're ready to jump into the second map so we can see how this one is going to develop, if it's going to be more of the same, or if there is going to be a bit of a turnaround potentially for Spart1e here in map 2.
Well, GaRpY's going to have the mobility, but it's Spart1e that's going to have the utility. The piercing sight makes such a difference on this map. I mean, for automatic reasons, right? The rail is one of the stars of the show. And the wallhack always helps out a little bit. GaRpY trying to get a bit of information. Definitely doesn't know where he is so far. However, has just given his position away to a Spart1e that's lying in wait. He's used his piercing sight. He knows where GaRpY is. Ooh. But yeah, the trap is going to get sprung. Unfortunately, that missed rail. GaRpY is not going to be too shy of chasing that and getting some free damage or control at all. The heavy's going to spawn now. Finally takes it. Has to quickly turn around to collect. But hey, a small time waster at the end of the day. The Mega's there. Nose hasn't been taken. If he catches him on the jump pad, which he will, how much damage is Spart1e going to take? Oh, actually dishing out a significant amount. You can tell that GaRpY was super happy, and another missed rail. Spart1e, I know we've only just started, but these rails need to hit their mark. It's the only way he's going to get momentum here.
It's critical to get himself in the game early right now, as GaRpY's starting to find himself a bit of control overall. 2 of the pickups already gained for himself, as he's doing a nice job of actually being able to roam around the map pretty much freely at this point. He's got his rockets now achieved, and this is where things could get quite damaging for Spart1e. Although GaRpY, knocked down fairly low, grabs the Mega to at least try and save himself for the meantime, but this could be really rough. Here comes the push straight down, the vertical shot barely missing. He's trying to hold on as he's fighting around, but he's so low. Surely Spart1e gets an opener here on the board, and he will do, as he goes in with a full commit off the back of the LG.
Kind of surprised that we didn't see GaRpY run away from that fight there, to be completely honest. He's now going to take a whole bunch of damage, while Spart1e's deciding which weapon he wants to select to. Ooh. He's taking a lot of free damage, and now he's going to press the advantage. Misses the rail, but that was a hard shot anyway. He's going to go for it. GaRpY goes for the Hail Mary Berserk, and even though the punch hits its mark, it doesn't do enough damage. That fight, once more, could have been really backwards for Spart1e, getting caught with his pants down, trying to swap weapons, but he did so much damage to GaRpY on the flip side, that doesn't really matter at all. But I want to remark on you, there's a lot of like specific champion matchup knowledge coming from here, right? Where Spart1e running towards Mega, and when GaRpY was on the middle of the map, you know, obviously he understands that he's going up against Doomslayer, so he has the small things where he's looking for an angle that only Doom could double jump to, and it almost becomes more obvious he's going to take those jumps because it gets him there quicker. Oh. What a shot! Hang on a second, Spart1e really coming online on the second map, and by God, he needed it.
Oh, this
what
is
a shot!
Sick. He's really starting to get ramped up now, Ryan. Things might have been a bit of a slow burner at first, but now he's woke up, and he's got the lightning gun out as well to do even more damage, just carrying on with his absolute reign of terror at this point. 4 frags picked up. We're only 3 minutes into the game as well, so GaRpY, the man that was dominating early on, it looked like he actually had majority of control, starting to slip off and lose that bit of early game form. Spart1e is a commanding lead. He's going to look to try and grab even more and really take this one with both hands. Tri-bolt in hand, going to get denied there by the damage that's coming through off of GaRpY, but he goes in anyway. He is trying to burn his way through the armor. He's got a ton more HP to play with. Backs off, realizing he needs to try and just slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, GaRpY definitely making the decision of how much life do I consider a rail to be worth, because he knows that Spart1e's going to survive the shot. Wow. The question is, how much damage are you prepared to take to land the direct damage of a rail, right? It's a very risky play. If he missed that shot, he would have probably gone in for the kill. He's going to miss the shot, but again, we're seeing Spart1e go for these kind of crazy flicks. If anything, it's forcing respect. It's forcing GaRpY to say, I'm not afraid to go for these crazy shots. And you got to respect it, mate. Don't run around the corner willy-nilly, because I'll go for it. Hits a beautiful shot. Another one. GaRpY definitely railable at this health. He just needs to hit one more, but going up the jump pad might be suicide. Denies the armor. Very intelligent, but GaRpY using the double jump to try and escape. What a rocket! Spart1e running right into it, being a little bit too tunnel visioned, I think, to try and take this kill. But by all accounts, he can still get it. He just needs to hit the rail, and he can't at all. He can survive 2 here, though. 1 rail lands, forces him away. Spart1e, I mean, he has to rocket jump, otherwise he's going to get chased, but he's very, very weak. Won't be very hard for GaRpY to get it, and he can't chase him towards the Mega anyway, but the trap is sprung! How did GaRpY get there so quickly?
Oh, this is madness. It's the difference in play styles as well, just the approach that we're seeing come through right now. Both of them just constantly trying to brawl into this one as they return fire. GaRpY, the rambunctious rockets that he's been firing out, just constantly juggling Spart1e, where he's been hitting some filthy rails as well. He's been looking good, but now GaRpY wants a piece of the pie. Goes back in, trying to show just what he can do with his railgun. Lands the warning shot, realizes his stack's much lower though, has to back off at least to try and gather his thoughts for a few moments. He's able to gain the Mega, puts himself in a bit more of a controlling position, but he needs some frags here. About halfway through the game at this point, so if he's going to get back into it, he needs to start putting his stamp on the server.
That was a temporary loss of information, but that's going to swiftly be undone. GaRpY listening to those, the little peaks of visor. He knows he's going to be nearby this heavy. Bit of a question mark. Why is he not here? What must he be trying to plan for me? In that case, it's going to be a trap, but GaRpY getting way more damage. That tri-bolt melted Spart1e down. And the rocket may not have done damage, but it's information! Ooh. Spart1e dancing with the devil, going in with the jump pad, knowing full well that GaRpY was there. I think that was almost a bit of a too bold of a play, Jackie.
Now he's fired up, though. This is the point where both of them are actually looking really on form, right? This is as close as it can be. When we were talking about the first map, how tight it looked. Again, it's happening here. The near misses as well have been ridiculous with these rows at this point. Just barely whizzing by, offering out free haircuts, Ryan. They're going to look to try and continue that as well. The prediction rocket is good. Spart1e, barely even alive at that point, falls on his last legs as he already had 1 foot in the grave.
It just comes down to GaRpY's rockets. When GaRpY's got a rocket launcher in hand, you know he's going to make magic happen with it. How many of these situations is he just putting so much confidence in his almost directs every single time? Near Visor now. Knows he's nearby. Going to be an uncontested heavy, knowing full well that Mega is going to be the next objective. How can he cut him off? I think GaRpY's maintaining fantastic pressure here. And he's got a lot of control too. Now there's a fantastic delay in between Mega and Heavy. I think the natural mobility of Doomslayer means he can kind of beat Visor to the mark almost all the time. But now, Spart1e can be defensive technically because he's got the frag lead, but trying to sit on a 1 frag lead versus GaRpY, I mean, there's a reason I think he knows. Surely Spart1e is letting me take these. You know, why isn't he here? What is Spart1e trying to do? That's what GaRpY's figuring out. Because right now, he's just running around the map and taking them for free. Has caught sight of Spart1e. Spart1e wants to try and bully him away from the Mega if he can. Now the mission's going to be undo some of that stack. He knows he's going to take it. We have to win the fight anyway. Completely knocked a mile away, but GaRpY's not going to give up the vertical advantage. Misses a rail. Doesn't matter though. Both players pretty weak. GaRpY's going to get information. Can hear Visor like a bull in a china shop as now he's running down. He's going to get the heavy. We have to decide how much stack is this guy going to have. We have to hit these rails, but if he's hitting tri-bolts like that, then maybe we're overstaying our welcome just a little bit. He hits 1 rail, and he's looking for more.
It's burned down so much time, though. These elongated fights are really just sucking any last second out of the clock, leaving it to essentially the point where this could go down to basically like a 5-6 frags at the end here, with just how close it's been in the last few seconds of the game. The tri-bolt coming back through from GaRpY, trying to go for the predictions. Spots him out, lands the rail as well, at least to put some damage on the board, as he knows he needs to step up to the plate right here, right now. Wants to go for the prediction play instead, starts roaming around. The rockets that have been the classic play the entire time, starting to rain down the death from above, but there's no one there to receive that gift. He's still on the move. That's the lightning gun pick backed up. Up the bounce pad, but let's see if he can bounce his way back into the action here, as he needs to do something soon. We've got 2 minutes left on the clock. He has everything he could want in terms of his stack, in terms of the weapons to play with, but Spart1e, he's just wasting the time. All he's got to do is roam around and keep on bopping his way around the map.
And you know GaRpY knows it. There's a reason. He asked the question to himself, why is he never really trying to fight me for these? The answer is always going to be because Spart1e wants to take no risks. He wants to keep that utility with piercing sight if he feels like he needs it. Right now, I think he's satisfied with at least just the audio information of where GaRpY is. But fundamentally, he's trying to waste time. He's trying to keep it as far away as possible. He has a minute and a half. He's done a fantastic job of that so far. But if GaRpY can keep him around, he's heard the Mega, he's got timing, he knows that Spart1e is Mega stacked, but he hits 1 rail. Needs a few more of those. If he can just keep Spart1e on the end of a leash here, maybe he can make this comeback. But right now, the defensive play's been phenomenal. GaRpY,
He doesn't see him.
No, and he couldn't hear him either. Spart1e playing this defensive game perfectly so far. Kind of surprised GaRpY didn't actually check the angle, just in case.
I mean, the thing is that could change it and actually flip it on our heads, right, is the fact that it could work both ways, especially with the fact that he's missed the opening rail. At this point, you've only got a minute left. If GaRpY does get a kill and equalize it, at the very least, he could also delay, try and play it out for the sudden death. He's chasing like a hungry hyena, but he can't quite catch up with his target, Spart1e. A little bit too fast. GaRpY needs a kill, and he needs it right now to put himself back in the action. He has his classic rocket in hand, though. Spart1e is so low, but he's barely holding on to life, somehow clutching on. The rocket should finish him off, but it won't do it! Spart1e returns fire with the rail. That's it. Surely that is the tombstone finisher.
I mean, even if GaRpY can get a refrag here on spawn, it doesn't matter because there's so much time being wasted. He had to hit that rail. He had to put everything into it. And not only did it not hit its mark, Spart1e got the chase down instead. He's going to get a frag here, but it might be too little too late. He has to get a perfect spawn in 5 seconds. Spart1e GG's before he even spawns. He knows time is on his side. GaRpY may have got the frag, but ultimately it was the missed rail that sealed the deal before we even came to 10 minutes.
That's so rough as well. That's basically the exact opposite of what we saw on the first map there. So close the entire time. Both of them playing such a delay controlling style of the game. It felt like GaRpY also had overall control of the map basically the entire time. Right? You can see off the back of the pickups, pretty much he was in charge. He looked very dominant for the most part. It's just the fact once they got into that fight and there was the 1 frag lead, Spart1e knew all he had to do was just waste time, and he sat there burning that clock down as much as possible for the entire length of the game. literally one frag. Like, it's so ridiculous that it's actually being decided like this. But this is the best case now, Ryan. They both got a map each. This provides us with something that is going to be absolutely wonderful on number 3.
Well, it was interesting to me because I feel like Spart1e actually gave GaRpY that information quite early on, you know, where he was deliberately like nowhere to be seen when it was Mega and Heavy spawning. You know, that kind of like very obvious, I think, stalling and delay and defensive play. Normally someone might try and give it that information to the player. They'll try and be a bit less obvious with it by the end of the map, purely because if you're trying to be kind of out in the open that you're now trying to slow the pace down and you want to play by frag limit, or at least, you know, by a small difference in frags rather than trying to constantly go in all the time. You might do it when there's a couple of minutes left, right? By the time they figure it out, maybe it's too late. We've seen that before. But yeah, I think Spart1e was just very, very confident that if he has confidence in both his awareness of where GaRpY was, and actually, you know, if you just look at the top of his screen, very rarely did he actually pop the piercing sight while he was running away either. He was pretty satisfied that he knew where GaRpY was, even without having to use the wall hack. And that's good play to me. That's really, really calculated play where he went in with a game plan about halfway through, knew he could win on defensive play if the time came up maybe a little bit earlier than we expected, and that was it. It was a really good map from him, and as we said earlier, pivotal, absolutely pivotal. But now we are going on to the finale of our first series, Molten Falls. This is where disaster struck for Spart1e when he fought GaRpY in week number 1. This was the map that was about, you know, there was like a 30+ frag difference between the two players. GaRpY just putting on an aim clinic by the end of things. So the question's going to be, is history going to repeat itself, or is Spart1e finally going to, you know, like break the wheel and he's going to get the run back he's looking for, get a win, get some points, and we'll see what the future weeks bring to the table.
Well, it's odd though, because it's different in the sort of the sense of the way both of them are approaching it right now is that very slow controlling style of Quake. They don't both want to actually go for more of an aggressive style, right? You know, we're not sort of seeing that Wenger sort of aggression just coming straight in, just trying to hit hard and fast in every possible outcome. It's way more drawn out, and that's why fights are lasting sort of a minute and a half normally before we see another frag. If that's continuing and both of them are still in that stalemate position, it's really going to be up to fate. But we're back in Spart1e versus GaRpY, map 3. This is the decider to see who is taking this series, Ryan.
We're starting to see one of the champs of Molten Falls, Galena. So many places she can place those totems and just deceiving amounts of stack. It really takes the seasoned players to have that awareness of where a totem could be. Always expecting Galena to have more stack than you think anyone normally would. That's a really good rail. Spart1e going in with the LG. The dual wield does not matter. He's taken far too much damage and going for the cheeky stuff. Did that totem even appear, or has he lost it? Looks like he probably lost it. We'll see. Keep an eye out, but I'm actually going to pay attention to that outline. He was trying to go, and I actually think I saw it. There are so many deceiving locations that a turret can go, or a totem, sorry, wrong champion, that you kind of need to go out of your way to take them out, you know, and it wastes time, and a few seconds here and a few seconds there might be the difference between getting to a mega or getting to a heavy.
Oh yeah, we've seen some really nice placements, especially here on this map as well. Like, so much has been done with Galena in the, you know, the past couple of weeks that I've seen that have been really ingenuitive. So it's actually been pretty awesome to watch what they're coming up with. This is possibly one of the best matchups I could ask for as well. There's the overstack coming through though straight away for Spart1e, so he wants to try and play off the back of it and get aggressive. GaRpY is trying to hunt him down. He also should be able to take out some of those totems though, as he's in position close by. Instead, it's the return fire rail from Spart1e. He flips his way back, lands it right in the face, square between the eyes of GaRpY. That's going to slow him down as he realizes just how low he is. He can't push the agenda.
GaRpY did an amazing job of pushing Spart1e away from the position. The problem is he couldn't finish it. And if you can't finish it against Galena when, I mean, look, she's overstacked. She's got all 3 of the totems ready to go. She can essentially get a free mega if she wants. And if she just sort of sets up shop near the heavy, who cares if GaRpY gets the mega in this situation? Look at this crazy stack that he's now looking at. And that's why GaRpY's not fighting. He knows the totems have to be up. I'm going to do the maths. Spart1e's going to be way better for this fight than I am. Let's try and do some chip away damage. He's not going to take this one-on-one. He can't. He hasn't got the health to do it.
He is landing a couple of nice fadeaway rockets, though, at least to try and soften up the opposition. He goes in for the Akimbo Assault as well. Going to whip out both of those guns, as it's the dual rockets being fired down. GaRpY is good with 1 rocket, but you give him 2, he's going to be even better. At this point, though, he has to slow it down once again. Finally, he has the advantage in stack. He hasn't really spotted out any of those totems, though, that have been placed down. Spart1e, once they do fall back into combat, actually pushes fairly aggressively with that lightning gun. Gets the damage through, tries to get the rail shot off, but it isn't actually going to connect. But once again, he's just able to back off. He's been wasting so much time. It's this slow style that he's been approaching each and every time that's actually been giving him an edge over GaRpY.
GaRpY's having a bit of a problem with these totems. I mean, ultimately, he hasn't really taken out... I actually don't even know if he's taken out a single totem in the game yet. He is going to pop the dual wield, so he's going to finally get An all-important frag that he was looking for. And now this is a bonus opportunity to... Oh! Ooh. I was about to say bonus opportunity to take out the totems, but GaRpY's not looking for them at all. It's why I think he hasn't actually destroyed them. The first two he took out were with his own body. That wasn't intentional. There's a totem underneath him, hasn't looked for it, and it's what's allowing Spy to have such an impressive stack all the way. Does get a rail, but GaRpY himself, if Spy were to turn on him there, he's not got a lot of pickups around to actually save his skin. So GaRpY doesn't want to fight yet.
At least it's an okay position to actually take your time, though. You go 1-1, you know you're versus a Galena that will, at this point, basically just be roaming around, finding little holes and nicks and crannies to try and put her turrets down, but when she comes into your domain, you can pop this off, go for the dual wield and try and slaughter her. Unfortunately, that isn't going to be a kill picked up. It is a small amount of damage, but it's negligible at best, because Spart1e can back off, sort himself out before the next fight. And at this point, again, it's just time wasted, just time delayed to try and slow down Spart1e. Going in with the rockets, though, firing off the warning shot straight into the LG. He's doing a nice amount of damage. Finally, he has the stack advantage as well, but he's so timid. He doesn't want to overextend here. He knows that Spart1e can instantly just come in with a big play, so he's just going to roam around, try and be one step ahead when they get into the fight. That's the Mega being stolen from right in front of his eyes. He's so low, but it's close, but the connection on the rocket isn't going to be a ring out. It isn't going to be a frag, though. Instead, it's another death, and now Spart1e has the lead.
If you want to look at what's making all the difference, look no further than the bottom of your screen. The 3 flames are going. It means that GaRpY has completely failed to take down basically any totem all game. Every time a fight's taken place, Spart1e is more than stacked. He's overstacked thanks to the totems being there. GaRpY needs to do something about them. Otherwise, he's never going to be equipped to take one of these fights. Spart1e, he's going to run away, but don't count him out. He's got so many totems he can run away to. Does he really need to worry? GaRpY has to do something about them. He's having such a hard time with it so far. You may think he's got the edge, but as long as he has somewhere to retreat to, you know, Spart1e, there's reason he's sticking around the side of the map. He knows that if he gets damaged now and can retreat, he has that get out of jail free card. 2 of them, 3 of them, in fact. And if he can control this side of the map, GaRpY ain't touching it.
It's crazy just how much control he's been given essentially for free at this point, and once again he can now even further push out that frag lead, although he is taking a ton of damage. He's been spammed down so much, but GaRpY doesn't fancy it. He's given away the armor as well. That's going to be the pickup coming back through Spart1e. It doesn't matter what is going on here. He's just sitting pretty constantly. Goes in. That's the free HP pick back up. Surely at this point this should actually be a 1v1 win for GaRpY. He went for the akimbo play. Spart1e trying to outmaneuver him there. That actually works out. He gets away again for free.
Because GaRpY, he's both struggling to finish it, and I truly feel like right near heavy, not going in for the kill, I think that was a mistake. But GaRpY, I feel like, I think what the totems are doing is, Spart1e is consistently having so much health in these fights. I'm assuming GaRpY just has no idea what stack Spart1e's looking at. If there are so many totems around the map that he's surviving with, GaRpY must be asking the question now, where are your totems? How much health does this guy have? That when the time finally comes that Spart1e's weak enough that GaRpY can go in for the kill, GaRpY has no confidence that the health is where it is.
That's the thing, it's got him second-guessing every play he possibly goes for, but you just can't approach it that way. He needs to do something, and he needs to do something soon, and it's not going to be taking rails to the face, nor tri-bolt shots. As they roam across, the rocket's going to go down to try and deny it. GaRpY, still alive at this point, and finally going in for a head-on assault, as he wants to try and charge in and do a bit of damage. Will start to tag up Spart1e, gets rid of some of that sustain, but it's instantly gone, it's already back. He finds himself a free Mega, denies that even go in the way of GaRpY, drops himself another totem as well, so he's just going to be living his movie right now.
I love as well that Spart1e is not simply giving up the ghost. He's not sitting there and using his totems to be his form of stack, and he's letting GaRpY run around and take the other items as well. He is actually using the stack he builds up to fight for heavy, to fight for mega, to make him even more in control. Now, this is a pivotal moment. GaRpY, no! He goes down the jump pad instead. I know he's just trying to get to the mega as fast as possible, but he's having... If he just went the other way, he could have taken out 2 totems, and they're what he needs to deal with right now.
He has been starved the entire game for anything. Any type of advantage, any type of pickup whatsoever. He just physically can't get them. And anytime he tries to push into an objective and tries to go for some kind of full-on attack versus Spart1e, he's either taking damage from totems, he's just getting overthrown because he doesn't know what stack Spart1e's on. It's all just been taken away from him second by second. And again, Spart1e, he's got himself a favourite corner to play with.
And GaRpY's having a hard time fighting around it. One of the totems being gone. Information, but still damage. It's going to be stack that's not in his favour. A bit unfortunate for GaRpY. Did fire one of the rockets towards right near rail, but only hit one of the totems. It would have been so good if he just got to. He's going around the corner. He has to take them out. I know he's not trying to give himself information, but by leaving those totems up in the most dire of circumstances, I'm not sure. You know, it's very common that a player will deliberately leave a totem because they don't want to give information away, but at that stage, I'm like, I feel like maybe it's worth just get rid of the health option, because now if Spart1e can force his way back around that map and the totems are still there, GaRpY will know at least that he's overstacked, because he knows he hasn't taken out many totems. So Spart1e, I mean, and need I say more? Here he goes. Whoopah! Yeah. Free Mega. Thank you very much.
It's so rough the way this has been approached. At this point as well, there's basically no time left. GaRpY, if he wants to win this, or at the very least try and push this out to a sudden death scenario, it's got to be right now. You have to go in for a fight. You can't afford to just dance around the issue. You have to go in for the 1v1 and do so right now. Both of them, fairly similar position in terms of the stack overall. But of course, the difference maker is Spart1e. He can drop that third totem at any point and throw himself into an even better position as it's going to go down. He's got the overstack now. Now is officially the deadline as well. 1 minute left. GaRpY, a sneaking suspicion, goes in. Finally, we might actually see a frag come out for him as he does get the kill. The first time he's actually used the Akimbo for an offensive onslaught as well. Before, it's trying to be using it to deny. Try and get map control with it. Force him off of going for the armor pickup. Instead, that time he went in headstrong. But if he gets the follow-up, that could be the true difference maker. Chasing at this point. Hungry for a kill here, Ryan. As he gets him so low, he might run straight into it, bouncing his way across, gets the rocket down. GaRpY doing more damage to himself, though. Spart1e gets away again for free. You have 30 seconds left, Ryan.
I mean, the question is, can he do it? It's one defensive shot, hits the rail, but GaRpY, he can't slow down. Surely he's going to retreat to try and get one more pickup, but he's going to get beat to heavy, and now the stack is not in his favor at all. There's a totem there as well. He has 15 seconds. I don't know if this is possible. He's going to have to both hit some miracle shots, and Spart1e has to miss. That is a big ask. He's got 5 seconds, and he's just going to go around the other way. I don't know. I feel like I just maybe go in, try something. At the last minute, he gave up the last few seconds. And, I mean, if anything, that was just a masterclass of Galena. That is how you absolutely put the chokehold on with totems. And GaRpY clearly had an extremely hard time around it.
It's rough as well, though, because it just feels like GaRpY, you know, he hasn't completed his clean-out course. He doesn't know how to just get rid of those totems each and every time. If Zoot was here, he'd just be screaming the fact that you got to kill those totems, and he just didn't. They were up the entire time, giving him basically constant free roam, where at most we saw like 1 or 2 taken down. And even then, it was through no fault of him actually actively doing it himself. It was just raw face damage that gave even more information to Spart1e, then delay this even further. It's just weird. It didn't look like GaRpY. I don't know. Like, even in those last few moments, normally he's the type of player where it feels like he will make a calculated attack. Then, it just kind of felt like it was a stalemate, and he just didn't want to go for something that was risky. But you have to, Ryan. What else can you do in that last few seconds?
For me, I mentioned it in the middle of the map, and I'll say it again, it kind of just felt like we'd reached a position where GaRpY had just either lost count of how much health Spart1e would have because of the totems, or I think he just lost confidence in his own calculation of that, where there was that one key moment near heavy where at last, the entire time, Spart1e was actually weak. And by all accounts, GaRpY could have gone in, and that would have been a frag, and it would have been a complete change of momentum. It's because GaRpY spent the entire map not taking out the totems at all that gave, every time, you know, Spy would run away, GaRpY would either chase and like ignore totem and all of that stuff. And by that point, when we're halfway through and GaRpY's essentially letting Spart1e live, that gives us all the information that we need, that he's not confident anymore. And I think that was very much, it was a champion-specific matchup. When we saw this matchup last time, you know, he was going, we saw Spart1e pick the Athena, you know, the light champion, a little bit more, you know, mobile and stuff like that. It didn't work. He just completely face rolled over in that map. Going for someone a little bit tankier, and the totems as well, picking up a defensive play. That was an adaptation right there. The way he approached Molten Falls is night and day different to what we saw in week 1. And that is a very, very, very crucial win for Spy to just try and get something that resembles some momentum. So congratulations, and thank you very much for proving my prediction incorrect. That was only one series, though. We have a few more up our sleeve for EU and CIS, and we're going to be going into number 2. So thanks for watching so far. This is the Quake Pro League, and we'll be back after a short break.